Hello everyone, Chocolo Roberto here for another tier list. Yes, another premiere on Friday. So hello there, hello into the chat, and hello to myself in the chat as well. She'll be there. Hope you're all doing okay. Yeah, great for you to join me, of course. What have we got this week? Well, basically it's a sort of, I guess it's my childhood ice cream lollies, and ice creams and ice cream lollies basically, or things around that sort of thing, ice pops, stuff like this. All sort of tiered essentially, yeah. So now these ones, of course, might not be. Some of them are still around today, some of them aren't. It's a bit of a nostalgia trip for myself, I guess, really. So, I thought I could divide this up into sort of, I don't know, basically sort of different categories, maybe old school ones and new ones and stuff like this, or just of all time. So I thought, well, first of all, I'll do basically the sort of childhood memory ones, the ones that were always classics from when I was young, really. And some of them are still around today, actually. Some of them are still around today, but they're kind of like the sort of, I don't know, I guess you'd say the basic ice creams and ice lollies and stuff like that. I'm sure some of you remember them in the chat, of course, and watching as well. Leave a comment or free if you do recognise any of them, or obviously let me know in the chat and stuff. Some of them are still around today, as I say. Some of them perhaps not. Some of them have evolved slightly. Some interesting ones. Some of them I just couldn't remember the names of. I managed to actually remember them, but I couldn't at first. It was a bit of a funny one. But yeah, there we go. Interesting one, really. So those of you who don't know what this is all about, I'll just briefly explain it. Basically, what we're doing is we'll just be sort of ranking each of these items at the bottom here, by dragging and dropping them onto the appropriate tier, basically. Hence tier list. Yeah. So we'll say, right, well, this one, a feast. This is a feast. So we'll say, well, feast. It's not too bad, not too great. It's a B, something like that. We could just say, and we'd place it in the B, then we'd get the next one, Cornetto A or something, and stuff like this. Obviously this is not the rankings I would give them. This is just an example. So yeah, that's the gist of it. And why S at the top? Hear you cry. Well, basically, it's a default on the website, and I've been using it, just using the default. Sometimes I've changed them for other tier lists where it's been appropriate, but generally for just sort of ranking things, I've just left it as the default, really. Yeah. Now, where the S comes from, actually, it's popularised, I think, from computer games and stuff like that. That's become quite common. Over in recent years, such as Street Fighter and stuff like this. If you're Ikaruga, if anyone's played that game, if you get like a good sort of score, it'll give you an A, but if you get a better score, it'll give you an S, basically. It's a grading system used in Japan, I think, for high school kids. Yeah, so that's basically where it derives from. Why it's probably popularised in lots of games. Lots of games companies are from Japan, things like this, Nintendo, Sega, stuff like that. So that's the gist of it, really. That's why it's become prominent, I guess. Yeah, so I could have changed it around. I could have done A to A, B, C, D, and F or something like that. F for fail. I could have, jigged it about a bit, but just if it was, I thought just let's keep it as a default. I've used it for ones now as well, so it keeps it relatively consistent, so there we go. Yeah, so I hope everyone's doing all right, by the way. Yeah, great for you to join me. I say this is a premiere. I usually do them every 2 weeks, really, interspersed with look back. So look back will be one Friday, and the next Friday it should be a tier list. They are quite labour intensive to make these things. I have to make all the images, put them all, upload them all. The upload's not that long actually, but have to create all the images, record it, edit it, stuff like that. And usually I'm doing it on the Thursday as well, so it takes a bit of time for the Friday. So so which is why you don't see it well in advance that it's there. I normally like to schedule them in advance, as far in advance as I can, but there we go. That's the reason why. So maybe I should try and maybe one week I'll just have to do it on the Monday or something, and then I'll get in the habit then, and then I'll catch up, so the next, when I do Friday, rather than do the tier list or whatever, I'll upload Monday's video, something like that. So but it's just going to take a week of being out of sync, basically. So there we go. All right, well, let's get started then, shall we? Now, what we need is a baseline first of all. Now, I was thinking about this. I was considering this before we started, and I don't really know what's a good one to have as a baseline here. There's no perfect one, basically. Because I feel like, but the one I think I'm gonna go for, it's a difficult one because basically I want one that's sort of reasonably recognisable and people know sort of what it is. And I think, well, you know what? I'm just going to go for the milk lolly. Basically, milk lolly. This is the one I'm going to use as the baseline. Now these ones traditionally, I'm quite sure when I was younger they came in strawberry and chocolate flavour as well, and they still do. You can still get these. Basically, just like a sort of, I think it's just frozen milk. I think really is the gist of it. They're not too unhealthy. I'm sure they're not healthy, but but compared to other ice creams and things, not unhealthy. So they're not. I guess it's not really ice cream as such. I'm not sure if there's some special shenanigans going on, which means it isn't literally just frozen milk, but they're actually pretty nice. Actually, I think when I was younger, I never used to sort of be too bothered by them. But we had them relatively recently. I think, well, maybe 10 years ago. I got, because lots. If you can get the right ice cream, some of them are actually pretty low in calories, but still give you a really nice hit. And milk lollies is kind of one of those. They're pretty low in calories, but they do give you a good hit. Yeah, Soleros is another one. They're very good. They're pretty low in calories and give you quite substantial ice cream taste. Yeah, so some of I found a lot of the low calorie ice creams are not very good. Ben and Jerry's, I think salted caramel something or other is actually quite a nice one. And so it's one of these Euphoria ones. It's actually quite nice. It actually tastes comparable to a non-low calorie ice cream, but it's still not that great, not that healthy. It's still like 500 calories a tub and stuff like that. Whereas the milk lollies, Soleros are actually not too bad. And yeah, I think there's some other ones as well. Just these straight sort of. I think is it Del Monte or something? Mango, and also there's a sort of blackcurrant one, which is just like a sorbet. If you can get the right one, some of them actually hit the right hit. Really sort of hit the spot, but also pretty low in calories. And I say milk lollies are quite small actually, so that could be why they are quite low in calories. But either way, if you eat them the right way, if you sort of don't nibble them, make them last a bit longer, not too bad. But the problem is you'll probably go for the whole. If you don't feel like me, you'll just go for the whole pack. So it kind of defeats the point, but there we go. But anyway, yeah, baseline for these. I think milk lollies, I quite like them actually. When I was younger, I was never, because it was, when I was younger, I was nonplussed by them. I just thought, there's no chocolate in them. There's no, not covered in chocolate. There's no chocolate. There's no real ice cream. I just wasn't too bothered by them, But when I was older, I tried them a bit more, and they're actually pretty good. So I think for me, I'm going to put these in a B. I think they are a pretty solid choice, actually, not too bad. They're quite small, as I say. They're not, no frills, but they're actually not too bad. Actually. So lots of these, I say, from my childhood. In fact, some of them you can still get today. But, yeah, so that's the gist of it. So these are sort of 80s, maybe 90s, but more 80s sort of as ice creams. But, lots of them are still around today. Yeah, but a couple of them have disappeared, I think. But, yeah, there we go. Maybe some of them from a couple of them maybe from the 90s, but I think mostly from the 80s. Yeah, so, okay, next one. So I don't know if we should go straight from left to right. Yeah, I don't know. I might save them a bit later. Maybe we'll go to, let's go to Twister here. Twister. They actually have revamped this recently. Well, it came out again, not a lot smaller now than it used to be. I'm sure of it, like half the size. Although I was young when I had them, so maybe they just would look bigger, but I'm sure they're smaller now. There's also, I've got one to review actually for the members videos, a weird sort of duo trio Twister or something. It's like, I don't know, it's blue rather than green and stuff like this. It's a very random, weird newer one. Yeah, so basically, always a popular one when you're younger, this one. It's kind of like, I mean, it's got like the white section on it, or the sort of creamy section. It is ice cream from what I remember, or, I've always assumed it was ice cream anyway. The green bit's obviously like a bit of a sorbet, and the central part, the red part, is like a sorbet as well. Or, I say sorbet, I mean like sort of frozen ice flavoured in something else, that sort of thing. Maybe not quite frozen ice actually, but like a sort of, I don't really know. Well, I guess a sorbet basically. A sort of fruit. I'm not too sure how you describe it. Like a fruit flavored, like a sort of frozen, like yogurty type affair. I guess is probably the easiest way to put it. But it's not quite that. But if you imagine, that's roughly what it is. I don't think it's actually ice cream essentially. But yeah, not too bad these ones. But I'm not as big a fan of them these days. I had them. When I was a kid, I used to really like them. But I'm a bit underwhelmed by them now, I'm not too keen on the sort of the non-ice cream part, and most of it is non-ice cream, and it's not as nice as I remember. I remember being really excited and really interested when I was younger. I really wanted them and really loved them, but I don't know, when I had them recently, they've just been really mundane, I'm not being horrible or anything, but I've just been very nonplussed by them to the point where I'm not really that bothered about having them, I say the ice cream part is quite nice. I'm not much of a nibbler of ice cream. Basically, I think there's two types of people. Ones that sort of, bite them, and ones that basically sort of, suck them essentially. I guess, we don't want to feed the innuendo, police. Let's put it that way. So I'll leave it there. But I'm sure you can imagine what I'm talking about, the variants of it. But just this, I'm not. Well, anyway, I tend to make mine last. Let's put it that way. So the gist of it is, this one is sort of, I don't know, it just doesn't quite I don't know. As I say, maybe you have a different experience if you sort of nibble them or whatever. But for me, it just, I don't know. It just, the ice cream sort of melts away quite quickly, and the rest of you left with sort of bits that don't really taste that great. I don't know. It just was a bit disappointing for me. I was very disappointed actually. So I think, long story short, it's not horrible or anything, but I think it's a pretty much a C, this one. I'm just not. Yeah, it just doesn't really do it for me. These days, it's a shame really. I think it's a classic, and I do acknowledge that, but I don't know. Yeah, if you've not had it recently, have it again and see what you think. I don't think it's as good as you remember it being, to be honest with you. I really don't. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about doing the 99 because I feel like I need to have more of a baseline in place before I can do it. I'm not too sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll leave the 99 till a bit further along. I think we'll leave it a bit further along. Maybe that one a bit. Now the Clipper. I've got a lot of memories, fond memories with the Clipper. Actually, when I used to go on holiday in Portugal with my family, and used to always get Clippos over there, and they were just the red one specifically. I used to always have the red one. I'm not sure what flavour, probably raspberry or something, but not sure what flavour it was. But yeah, the orange one, yeah, maybe. But the red one was where it was at, and I used to love it. And basically, what it is it's like a sort of in a cardboard tube, I guess you're saying. It's basically frozen fruit drink, I guess you'd say, something along those lines anyway. It's probably full of sugar and stuff. But yeah, very nice. And you sort of basically you had to sort of warm it up, again, more innuendo. I'm not going to act out what you had to do with it, but basically, yeah, you sort of warmed it up, and eventually you could sort of squeeze it and it would come out the top. And, yeah, honestly, if you're doing innuendo vodkas or innuendo shots or whatever, you're drunk by now. But the gist of it is, yeah, you'd have to do all that, and yeah, so basically, and and it was just really nice. And obviously, you can enjoy it in the way that you want. So, as I say, it's ridiculous anyway. I didn't mean to have it be like this, but everything I'm saying just sounds innuendo-like now. So I do apologise, everyone. I didn't intend it to be this way. But there we go. Yeah, so basically, it's really nice. So once you'd finished it as well, there'd be it would sort of melt as well into the cardboard. Let's say not literally into it, but like at the bottom there'd be a pool of sort of like the fruit juice left over, so you could drink that as well at the end of it. Really nice. It was so lovely and warm in Portugal as well, so it was perfect to have. And I must have been 4 or 5, I don't know, when I was having these. Very young, very nice memories of it, and by the pool and stuff like that. Lovely hot weather. I'm not really a hot weather fan, but when you're on holiday or doing nothing, it's nice. But yeah, really enjoy these ones. I mean, they're just such a nice. Really nice memories for me, to be honest with you. So it's one of those. I've not had. I don't know if I've had them since I was young. Actually, I might have to. I've just always seen them in the shops and just dismissed them. Really, I've never really even considered getting them. Maybe I should for that nostalgia hit, because I really don't think I've had them for. Yeah, since I don't know. Have I had them since? I'm not sure that I have. I don't actually think I've had them since I was very young. Yeah. That's really weird, that, isn't it? You'd think I would have had them, I always see them and just think, oh yeah, I remember those, how lovely. And yeah, I'll have to have them. I'm a bit worried it might ruin my childhood memories, maybe. I don't know. Well, I don't think it will, actually. I think I know what to expect. Yeah, I'll have to have them, It's really silly how I've not had them. That's silly of me, really. But anyway, yeah, for these ones, I don't think they're like an S. I'm not going to sort of, I can't inflate them that much, based on nostalgia piece. But for me, they're definitely an A. Especially they'll say the red one. I think the orange one, but the red one, there's I don't know how many flavours. I think the cola ones, and the cola one I never really had. I don't think. I mean, that was more of I think that came out after I'd stopped having them. Well, at least I never had it till then anyway, or never saw it anyway. But yeah, the red ones, I say, I don't know what flavour they are. I don't know what they are. Actually, could be anything. I don't think they're strawberry. Well, I'm not sure. I don't know. But anyway, they were really nice. So I'm assuming it's the same flavour still going now. I think they're just one of those that has remained on sale and is about and for all of time, pretty much, as far as frozen lollies and stuff has been going, I think. But well, I don't think they've ever gone anywhere. I think they've still stayed around, and they're just a classic. Yeah. I'd recommend trying those. It's just, as I say, the fact that they melt into a drink as well. It's really good, that, because it keeps, a lot of ice creams, lollies and things, they melt onto your hands and stuff. This one melts into the cardboard, and it doesn't matter if you let it all melt. You've got the same stuff pretty much, and you can just drink it at the end, and it's nice as well. It's a nice little drink. Yeah. It's got the Feast now. The Feast. I've seen somewhere it's called Big Feast. I don't know if that's really what I always remember. It's Feast. I've never seen it's Big Feast before. Just some website labeled it as Big Feast. I don't know if that's the case or not. I never used to like this one when I was younger. I think it was because it had like some weird nutty bits on the outside. yeah. But it's still around now. It's still around today. And actually, I've had it. I mean, it might have been quite a while now, 10, 15 years ago. I did try it actually, thinking, I'll give it a go because I don't remember ever liking it, or maybe just dismissing it. But it's actually really nice. It's really nice. Basically, like a sort of, it's not a solid chocolate in the middle, but it's like a weird. I don't really know what it is. Well, I guess it is solid chocolate. It's not. It's a funny type of chocolate. It's not just. It's not like any other chocolate other than what I've never tasted anywhere else other than a feast, basically. So I don't really know exactly what it is, but I guess you could say it's a sort of block of chocolate of some kind. Obviously on a stick. Yeah, but it's got surrounded by chocolate flavoured ice cream and not covered in chocolate with these sort of nutty bits. I'm just wondering whether the nut bits are actually really nutty. I'm not sure. I don't think they're really that nutty, to be honest with you. I seem to remember them not being too. Well, I can't recall for sure, but I seem to not been thinking anything negative about them. So I don't know if they're just sort of crunchy bits. But I don't remember being in the slightest being put off by them. I'm really not like a nut person at all. So yeah, really like these ones actually, but they're quite high in calories. Well, I think for what they are and stuff like that, they are ones where you not like I'll say mini milks and stuff like that. Where they're a bit yeah, well, they're like a bit of an acceptable treat calorie wise and stuff like that. But they are very nice, actually. They are very nice. Yeah, as I say, I think they're, there's a lot of textures going on with them. Basically, a lot of taste. They're interesting, and yeah, I do recommend them. Actually, I think they're. I don't think they're like the best thing ever, but they are really good. And as I say, just having those different textures and things, they're a real surprise actually. And I think they could definitely do a lot more variety with these, different flavoured ice creams and stuff, but it always just seems to be chocolate. I've never seen a different one, but they could really go to town on these and do all sorts of different kinds. And I don't really know why they haven't, because it'd be very easy to just throw in caramels and different flavoured ice creams and different covers and a different centre, all sorts really. I think they'd be a winner most times. Yeah, so for me this one's an A. Yeah, no, I like those. I think they're very nice. Definitely recommend them. Yeah, so Cornetto now. So when I was younger, Cornettos were I think they're only in 3 flavours. I mean, well, they were pretty much. Yeah, there was it was basically this one here. You can see hazelnut essentially, which was the one I avoided like the plague, and still would, to be honest with you. I don't even know if it's still around. I assume it probably is, but you don't see it very often anymore. But it used to be this one, the mint one. And the mint one had loads of dark chocolate on the top as well. It was really distinct actually. And then there was the raspberry one or strawberry one, whatever it was, which basically looks like the one you can see here, but rather than the chocolate bits, has strawberry sauce, I guess, and obviously no hazelnuts or whatever, chopped hazelnuts. Yeah, so they were always quite distinct, really, and I think they just stayed with those 3 flavours for a very long time until probably the mid-90s, early noughties, I think. I think so. Anyway, I don't remember them really being anything specifically other than that, and that I remember anyway. I think, and on the posters, they always used to look a lot more radical as well. They used to have a real random look to them the way they advertised, and they just didn't look like in the actual. In the actual when you actually bought them, they looked like they had like more of a flat top, and the swirls were very different. It wasn't really false advertising, just a different look. It was like as if they'd drawn them to completely, and they were kind of drawings as well in the adverts back in the day. It weren't really photos. It's very strange. Yeah, so interesting one really. Yeah, I don't mind these. I think they're. I think it's just they got the different textures, and they were always a bit of a treat back in the day as well. They were very, as I say, Cornettos were kind of like a sort of. The closest you could get to actually buying like a Mr. Whippy, sort of 99 you get from the ice cream man who would come around in a sort of in a sort of mass-produced frozen form, I guess. You know what I mean? So they were actually quite special, really. I don't think they ever quite lived up to the Mr. Whippy, by which I mean these sort of things here, 99s. Never quite lived up to them, but they were nice. I think the strawberry one was where is that for me. I always had the strawberry one. Maybe the mint one if couldn't get the other one. The mint one was actually a lot nicer than you think, because as I say, it had like loads of dark chocolate on the top, had dark chocolate, like it was mint ice cream basically, like this one has vanilla ice cream, but it had dark chocolate segments where this one's got milk, I think, or it's the same one or the other. But it also has loads. It's rather than chopped hazelnut, it had loads of chopped dark chocolate pieces on it, and I say dark chocolate, it looked like dark chocolate, it wasn't milk chocolate, but and it covered it pretty much. It covered it. You almost to the point where you couldn't really see the mint ice cream on the top. You could at the sides, but not really at the top. It was really actually they actually did a good job at making that quite distinct, actually. Yeah, I think these ones for me, I mean, they're not quite up there anymore. it's tempting to, it's somewhere between an A and a B, really. I think, you know, it's tempted to say an A, but I don't think they're really an A. Any, you know, maybe back in the day they were, but I think nowadays they've just been. There's so many better, you know, ice creams out there and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, yeah, I'm sort of rating these as I did, as I felt at the time, but really sort of as they are now, my nostalgia, my thoughts of them now, basically. I think Cornettos really have dropped a bit. They're not quite the special item they used to be. They've been superseded, and there's lots of better Cornettos out there as well, you know. Yeah, so I think we'll say a B for that one, a B. Now a Fab. Yeah, Fab, F-A-B, Fab, yes. This one, never really took to this when I was younger, actually, you know. Really didn't. I just didn't fancy it at all. I think it was because I just didn't really fancy the hundreds of thousands on the top. Basically, it's like a sort of 3 layers. I think the gist of it is the bottom layer is kind of present in all 3 layers underneath. So you've got the top layer, which has some hundreds of thousands surrounding it, or whatever, wherever you get it from. And the next bit's like a sort of milky layer. Almost like a mini milk, almost something like that, and then it's got the strawberry or whatever it is layer underneath. So basically, you know, if you eat the top bit, you will get to the strawberry bit in the top. The strawberry bit is present in all 3 layers, basically. So, you know, but sort of, yeah, basically probably a bit deeper in the. Well, I'm not sure actually. I think it's the same deep. Well, yeah, is it the same depth? Don't know if it's the same depth in it. Maybe it is actually. I'm not sure. I was going to say maybe there's more of the purple bit at the top than there is of the sort of milky bits. But you can see it's got a slight pinkiness to the middle bit, and that's basically because you've got the red coming through pretty much, I think, anyway. It could be wrong on that, but that's how you know, I think anyway. But yeah, I never really liked these when I was younger. I don't know why. I think I just avoided them. I don't think they didn't appeal to me, but I had them maybe in the quite late on, maybe in the 90s or the 2000s, maybe even, you know, I don't know, just something. But they're actually quite nice. They're actually better than you'd think, because I didn't really think these would be much at all. But it's mainly this sort of milky layer in the middle that's actually really nice, and the top layer as well perhaps gives a bit of texture. But the milk layer is really nice. I'm just wondering whether the milk layer comes through. That's what I was thinking of before, and I couldn't word it properly. Whether the milk layer is underneath the purple layer at the top. I think it is. So I think you've got the 2 layers. You've got the 3 layers at the top, then 2 layers, then 1 layer, basically. I think so anyway. Could be wrong on that one. But yeah, the milk layer is really nice, actually. It's a really nice flavour. Yeah, I don't know. It's something about it. It just works really well, and that's the bit that's where it's at, basically, for these. So they're not too bad, actually. It's somewhere. I think they're better than a Twister, to be honest with you. I think they're sort of. Are they more of a B? Yeah. Don't know if they're as good as a. It's a close one, you know. Depends on the day, basically, with these ones. I think. If I had them now, what would I pick one over? They are. I think they're a very low C, a low B, a high C. Milk lollies, you know, they're not that great milk lollies, but they're just good at what they do and a nice treat. I don't, you know, they're not. It's perhaps slightly overselling them there, putting them in the B one, but they just really work, and there's nothing negative about them really, other than the fact that they're just not. You know, they are. So I would say the mid tier sort of thing. Yeah, Fab. I think I'm going to stick with a C. I think. I know the so close. I might change my mind on that one. I might come back to it. Yeah, I think they are nicer than a Twister. I think I think you just would rarely go for them over other things. I think there's just other things that are perhaps a bit nicer, really. You know, yeah. So, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. It's a bit of a middling one at the moment. We've got two in A, B, and C. No S's or D's yet. So yeah, interesting. Now we've got the Choc Ice. Now the Choc Ice. Yeah, did you know about this, guys? Well, I think this is true. You know, don't quote me on it, but I'm quite sure it's true that Roger Moore actually invented or he came up with the idea. At least invented is too strong a word for basically the Magnum, because he had a Choc Ice and he said this should be on a stick. And I think he wrote. I don't know if he said it publicly or he wrote to walls or whoever. And he said, you know, I've got this idea, or he said you should put it on a stick or whatever it is. And they did, and that's where the Magnum came from. I couldn't believe it really. I thought it was a bit strange, but I think that's true. So have a check, you know, yeah, let me know if it's wrong or whatever, if it's an urban myth. But I think it's quite, I think it's pretty much true that, you know. Yeah, speaking of which, I forgot to mention before, jokes on sticks as well. It used to be quite a common thing. I don't think they do jokes on the wooden sticks anymore for ice lots. It's probably the sticks are too small now because the ice creams are too small. But yeah, that was one thing you used to always do as well. I used to get a joke on the stick. And it's rubbish jokes, you know, Christmas jokes. But it was always nice to have that. I don't think you get that anymore. Or maybe it's a bit like salt and shake crisps, you know, where it's like a bit of a, you know, they do them sometimes, even though largely pointless. But it's just a nice experience for people to have. And so sometimes on old ice creams or whatever, ice lollies, they'll put jokes on, I think, for just nostalgia value, you know. But I don't think they really do it anymore. Partially because they probably use the same sticks Europe-wide, so they don't want to put language dependent jokes on, you know what I mean? So yeah, probably just costs money as well, doesn't it? Yeah, choc ice then. To be honest with you, choc, I mean, what it is, it's basically vanilla ice cream covered in chocolate, but it was always really cheap vanilla ice cream. It was always really cheap chocolate. I was not a fan of these at all. I've never really liked them, and they always fell apart when you're eating them as well. They were just, I don't know, never too big a fan of these. That's just like a little block, literally like a little brick, like a soap. Imagine a very boring looking soap, shape-wise, like a rectangle, pretty much a block. But as an ice cream, you know, that's pretty much what this is. And it was just really, just weren't very nice. They were just never very nice. So vanilla ice cream can be nice. You know, obviously chocolate usually is nice, but for some reason these ones, they were just really cheap. I've never had a good choc ice. I'm sure they do exist. I'm sure if you go to, I don't know, some really expensive chocolatier place that sells ice creams, I'm sure they'll do a really nice choc ice. But maybe, but but you know, yeah, they were just never very good. They were just always just really poor quality and very cheap. You'd buy like 100 for £1 or something like, you know, you get a big box of them for, I don't know, £1 or something. I don't know how many you get, but 30 or something. Well, probably 20, but you know what I mean. And they just weren't very good. Yeah, always tasted very cheap, and they always fell apart. So they always had really, just the texture was not great in them either. Just nothing about them was particularly nice, you know. So yeah, so for me these are a D. Yeah, they're not great. I just don't have fond memories, and then you can still get them, of course, but yeah, not for me those. They might taste nicer nowadays, but again, I would never buy them over almost anything. You know, there's so many better things to get over those. Yeah, these days, so I just wouldn't bother. Yeah, so what these called? These freeze pops, weren't they? I think that's what they were called. Let me just check. I think I made a note of it somewhere. Yeah, freeze pops. There we go. Yeah, these basically a bit like not too dissimilar, I guess, to the Calippos in a way, but they're basically just like little see-through plastic. I don't know what you'd call them. Sachets, I guess you'd say, long, thin. They're quite long, about 30 centimeters long. You get them in all sorts of different flavors. Used to be sort of like I guess they were kind of cool at school, really. You'd come in with these freeze pops, and they were just meant to be. They were just like a cool thing to have, you know. I hate that concept, really. I hate the word cool. I hate the word fashion. They don't mean anything, you know. They just mean whatever is applicable at the time. You know what I mean? It's just like if something's cool, it might not be cool tomorrow. It might not be cool yesterday. It's today, you know. As in fashionable, you know. And I don't like that. It doesn't mean anything, does it? It means what you associate with it rather than really meaning anything. Anyway, yeah, so freeze pops, basically they were a bit cool to have it. You know, it's cool to be seen with a freeze pop, you know, God knows why, you know what kids are like. But yeah, so yeah, they weren't too bad. They cost like 10, 20p or something like that at the time. They probably cost 50p now or something, if not a pound. But yeah, so you know, but they were, as I say, very basic. You know, they were okay. They had the same. There's very like a budget Calippo. The same concept. You know, you have the bit at the bottom, you could drink it, but you have to like squeeze it out. It was always never quite came out the same way as you know, it did with a Calippo. You had to kind of, it was all bobbled. It got like stuck in pockets in the plastic and stuff like that. It was always, I mean, some of it would come out quite easy, you know, if you had a lot of it, but otherwise you just got all these drips stuck in it. You'd have to really like work it out and stuff, you know, like rolling up the plastic and stuff like that. It was never, yeah, they were very much a budget Calippo, really. You know, they were okay. You had different flavors. The thing is with these ones, you could kind of suck the flavors out as well, so you just end up with like a load of ice. I don't remember that. It could have happened with Calippos, but I don't remember it happening. But with these ones, yeah, if you did it that way, you would basically just you'd be able to get all the flavor out of the ice and just be left with some ice, and you'd have to eat it and then get back to the. So they were kind of, they were all right, you know what I mean. They were all right. They hit the spot on a warm day when you were going to or from school, you know. That's the gist of it. They're okay. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're probably a D, really. I can't really put them on the same level as a Twister or a Fab. I mean, they're not, you know, they're just not as good as those, you know what I mean? But yeah, they're okay. As I say, Calippo's just very similar, really, but just a lot higher quality. It has the nostalgia value for me. I don't really have nostalgia, you know, many things at school. Yes, that was probably among some of the best, the freeze pops, I guess. But even then, we're not really holding them in too much light. So yeah, yeah. So I think yeah, yeah, I remember a teacher saying that schools are some of the best days of your life. So do you want to milk back of these days? Remember them as being some of the, no. Honestly, no. I know some people do have a nice experience at school, but for me, I don't know. I wasn't too fussed on school really. Yeah. But if you love it, I know some people in the comments who are still at school have mentioned that they do have a good time of things and stuff like that. I'm really glad you do. But for me, no really particular reason. It just wasn't. I don't know. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. Had no real. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think schools are probably better nowadays. But when I was young, there was no real good way of sort of being pointed in the right direction and stuff like that. I don't know. Yeah, there's a couple of nice teachers. Don't you always remember good teachers, don't you? But yeah, anyway, digressing. There we go. But yeah, college was worse though. Yeah, I didn't enjoy college at all. Anyway, that's where I discovered the internet actually with college. So I was kind of just up on that on the internet. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do then either, and yeah. So, but helped me be the person I am today. So there we go. But yeah, so there we are. So I think we've got we've got all two. No S's yet. Well, speaking of which, I think this might be a contender. Yeah, this is the 99 really. Now, Mr. Whippy 99. I'm going to sort of lump them all into sort of one. Doesn't have the 99 generally has a flake in it. Doesn't. Does it have to? I think it does. But the gist of it is, it could just be without the flake. I'm just lumping all that together. Really. So one without a flake, with strawberry sauce. Nowadays, I don't think you could when I was younger, but you can get you used to get strawberry sauce, and that was about it. I think you then progressed to things like chocolate sauce maybe, and then you could have it dipped in hundreds of thousands of other things, the ice cream. But they didn't do that when I was younger anyway. At least maybe my parents kept it for me. I don't know, to stop me having it all. I'm not sure, but I never remember seeing that anyway. So you could have done. I mean, 99 cents did used to cost 99p as well when I was younger. I'm sure they did, although I think it did change at one point. I remember. Or I assume it was only more expensive, not cheaper. And I do remember asking, how come it's still 99? But I'm sure they used to cost 99p. Could have just been a coincidence, and maybe when they originally were brought out, they weren't 99. They were actually about 50p or something or whatever. But when I used to buy when I was younger, they were 99p, 99 at one point, 99p, and that obviously made sense for the name. So I assume, that's where they got it from, but I don't know. Could have been coincidence, but it seems a bit odd. But anyway, so basically it's like a cornet, basically a cornet with Mr. Whippy ice cream, sort of whippy stuff you get from that sort of ice cream dispenser tap thing. Strawberry sauce and a flake, basically. And it wasn't really a Cadbury's flake, but it was a fake one, fake flake. But still nice, still hit the spot. And you always used to have the thing where, I don't think they ever really were made that well back in the day. Probably still the same now, but I think it's a bit better. Whereas rarely sort of melted into the cone, so you always end up with just like an empty cone, I'm sure. I think nowadays they're a bit better when I've had ice creams. But nowadays you get like duo cones and different types of cones with chocolate on and stuff. You couldn't get that back in the day when I was younger. It was just, this I remember, as I say, it was literally just ice cream like this with this kind of cornet and a flake and strawberry sauce. That was pretty much it. But they're really nice. These are sort of quintessential ice creams, I think, for me. These are just really, there's nothing really else like it, as such. And I say nowadays, if you go to an ice cream man or a woman, I guess, it always seems to be a man as far as I've ever seen. I'm sure ice cream women do exist, but in the vans used to come around, I've only ever seen men for some reason. But yeah, very just it is basically a staple. It is a classic. It is something. Is it very British? I don't know, but it's something that's very still get the ice cream. You probably heard it in some of my reviews. It travels around, but very nice. Yeah, as I say, really interesting, really distinct. And as I say, these days are even better than they were. As I say, with all the different variations you can get, the different types of cone you can get, different. But you still get. I think it's still plain vanilla ice cream or whatever. So I'm not sure if it's. Don't know what it really. I assume it's vanilla, but but you get loads of different things, as I say, multiple flakes, as I say, different sauces, multiple sauces probably, as you can dip the ice cream in all sorts, 100,000, popping candy probably, just making that could be the case, I don't know, but other stuff like that, you can just get it dipped in its sherbet and things, I don't know. So yeah, for me, it's an S really, this one. It's very much a classic. It's just a classic, and it's just the thing you always wanted when you were a kid, and I think you still really want when you go to the ice cream man even today. Really nice. And the ice cream's lovely as well. It's just got a really lovely taste. Let's go to, and some of them I've been to one that was a bit dodgy, I think, not quite as nice. But to be honest with you, I still didn't mind it. I still think it's got a very distinct consistency that's really nice. And really nice. This one, yes, so Happy Feet, yes, or Happy Foot, is it Happy? I think it's Happy Feet. Basically just a sort of strawberry ice cream shit in the shape of a foot, really. I think they re-released these a few years back, but these were around when I was younger. They're just nice, actually, just really nice. Yeah, they look a bit funny, and but they are really nice. Yeah, I really did like these. I'd say it's yeah, it was a nice flavour ice cream as well. Strawberry sounds a bit mundane, but it actually tasted quite nice. I think it was strawberry, or it might be raspberry, but I think it was strawberry. Just really nice, yeah. I'd say in the shape of a foot for whatever reason. Why not? Yeah, I think these were pretty nice actually. I did enjoy these ones. I think only fond memories of these ones. As I said, they did bring them back. I'm sure some of them had like a swirl in them. The newer ones maybe. Or could be thinking of something else. I'm not sure. Don't know. Can't confirm that. But I think some of them had like a swirly pattern in or some kind of sauce in them. To make them have a bit more oomph, I guess. But they are nice, these ones. I do remember them very fondly. I do like them a lot, and I do recommend trying these ones out. They're surprisingly nice. They're surprisingly nice. They're not as plain, as boring as you'd think just by looking at it. So for me, yeah, I think these are an A. I like them. A bit different as well. At the time, don't forget, when I was younger, there wasn't really a strawberry ice cream. There was a Neapolitan. You didn't get much of a diversity in ice cream, sort of flavours from the ice cream man and things. Neapolitan, I say, was more when you just got in a tub, so it wasn't really available. I mean, there was some flavours and things, but it wasn't quite as diverse as it is today, so yeah. But the three main flavours, yeah, strawberry, vanilla and chocolate pretty much, yeah. But you'll see, even the strawberry cornetto wasn't really, it just had all raspberry, whatever. It was just had sort of like, I say, it still was vanilla ice cream, and they didn't have the insides like they do today, where it's inside it has more of the flavour. It was just literally on the top, so there was none of that excitement. Yeah, so there we go. Yeah. So screwballs now, yes, I think these might still be. I mean, these, I'm sure they're still around, and but they were always a good one, really. Basically, you see like a plastic cup with loads of ice cream, and then a sort of basically bubble gum or chew. I think it's chew. It might have been bubble gum at the bottom. Yeah, so chuddy basically where I'm from as well. Yes, some chuddy at the bottom. Yes, yeah, very interesting one. These ones are quite nice as well. The ice cream is pretty nice. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty much raspberry ripple. I think it had swirls of sort of raspberry ripple. I think there's a bit more to it than that. But yeah, raspberry ripple's another ice cream. It used to be. There wasn't many ice creams back in the day. I think Neapolitan, raspberry ripple, and vanilla pretty much. That's you might have had the chocolate and stuff separately as well. But raspberry ripple was probably the one, the real sort of different flavour you could get, really. There wasn't that many, like today with Ben and Jerry's and all this, that and the other, all these crazy flavours. I think raspberry ripple was as exciting as it got, It was quite nice, raspberry ripple, but you'd never really, again, don't really go for it nowadays because you've got so many other options, but it wasn't too bad. And this is basically, I think this is pretty much raspberry ripple, which is why I'm sometimes unsure whether it's strawberry or raspberry flavoured, because raspberry sometimes is the flavour that's you think is strawberry, but it's actually raspberry, and like jam and things, for instance. I was convinced I was having strawberry jam, but it's raspberry jam. But yeah, very nice. And when you got to the bottom as well, the ice cream sort of covered the ball of gum as well, the ball of chewing gum, and it just made it quite nice. It had like a fruity flavour, so it flavoured the ice cream as well. They were nice actually. These ones, they're a bit of a treat as well. A bit more like, say when you're a kid, you appreciate these kind of things a lot more. Yeah, really nice actually. Bit of an experience as well. Now, would I say it's an A? I don't think it's an S though. Would I say it's an A or a B really? I think they got quite a bit going for them. And the chewing gum was quite nice. You got a good sized pot of it as well. Always good to get back in the day, when it was hot in the summer and things. Probably when you most like to have ice cream when you were young. Well, yeah, pretty much was really, because I didn't generally when I was younger didn't get it out of season really. By which I mean in the winter, especially with your parents. I mean nowadays I'd get it all year long, of course, and do but yeah. So for me, I think this one, yeah, it had a bit of excitement to it, did have a bit of excitement to it. I think again I'm going to give it an A. I think ice cream, you can see there's lots of A's here because ice cream just generally is nice and it's got a nice experience and it has lots of, you'll struggle to find a poor ice cream here. Obviously we did find one with choc ices, but yeah, they are going to be, it's going to be a bit more top heavy this time, but yeah, nice. We've got strawberry splits next as well. Now these ones did have jokes on when I was younger. I don't think they do anymore. I've had them. Again, it must be quite a while ago now. Yeah. Don't know how long ago it was. 15 years something since I've last had them. I think it's been quite some time. But they're nice actually. They've got like basically vanilla ice cream, but with a sort of strawberry flavouring around the outside, and it works really well, that flavouring. It really, when you're eating it, as I say, I don't nibble mine, so it sort of mixes in with the flavours, with the ice cream. And it's really nice actually. It's a lot nicer than you'd think it was. It looks a bit plain and boring, especially with just vanilla on the inside, but they work really well. Some of these ice creams, I say, just work very well despite how they look, And And this one, yeah, this was one I used to have when I was younger as well. I think it was like, as I said, it wasn't really, or at least not my parents didn't buy anyway. You might have got, I said it was feasts and things, but generally my parents used to just buy me sort of, a bit more safe offerings, really. I think you'd say, rather than all these chocolatey ones. The strawberry splits were like the treat one, really, and they were very nice, actually. I have to say, they do. I've had them. Let's say when I last had them, it was a while back, but I was very impressed with them again. I don't think it's quite as exciting as the A-list ones here. I mean, maybe Calippo again. That it's probably more of a nostalgia thing, that one for me. But although they are all nice, they're not bad actually. This one's almost an A. I just don't think it's quite an 8, really, I think, is the gist of it. I think that is probably more of it. But it's close, as I say, it is close. If I look at the baseline of the mini milk, Cornetto and strawberry splits are probably better than those. But there are going to be little mini hierarchies within them, As I say, the feast might be better than the happy thought, or happy thought would be better than the feast, or whatever. So, it's just going to be the way it is. But these ones, I think, are distinctly higher than these. I know Twister's probably Twist and Fab maybe are both going to be controversial there, but for me, yeah, they're just, I don't know. I don't feel any need to get these two particularly over. I think there's just ones I'd rather get, really. Yes, there we go. Now these ones I did have when I was younger. These ones are a bit like a Calippo again. Sun Lollies. I can't remember what they were called. I had to find them out. Now these ones, I think this is a modern day one. The only example of the wrapper I used to have them in was basically like a discarded wrapper that someone had posted a picture on Pinterest or something. It was just literally a manky old used empty wrapper, with it, so so there was different flavours. I think it was strawberry and orange. I think there might have been others, but those were the main ones. I say strawberry, it could have been, it was a red one, what I mean. It could have been, I assume it's probably strawberry, but it might have been raspberry. Basically what it was like a sort of weird, I don't know what shape you'd say this is, like a wedge, like a double-sided wedge, but with a different sort of the edges on different sides. So this side is like it's vertical, this side is horizontal, you can see. And so it's a weird shape. I don't know what shape that is. But again, it's a bit like what you'd have to do is you'd cut the top off. Obviously, you try to cut it as little off as possible, because basically it would come off in the top if you did too much. But it would be a tight fit, so you'd get some off. And then you'd have to squeeze it up. So you have to melt it a bit and squeeze it out of the wrapper, like you can see on this thing here. You wouldn't ever, you couldn't. I think this is an impossible. Well, it's not impossible because it's there, but I think it'd be difficult to get it like this. I think because basically you would have had to peeled off the wrapper. So, you'd have to cut the top off with scissors, and it wasn't easy to do that. It would take a lot to get it to look like this. To peel off the wrapper to this extent, it's almost impossible. What you'd have to do is just cut off a bit of the top, and then you would squeeze it out. Basically, it would open up. But you'd have to sort of warm it up and things, to get it to do that. A bit like a Calippo, basically. Very nice. And again, you'd have a bit of a juice at the bottom of it to drink as well. So yeah, so you'd have that sort of going on. They were nice. These I had a bit later on. These were like maybe late 80s, 90s. I think I had these. I think they're still done now. I think there's a few different flavours now. I think they're still called Sun Lollies, but I think they're made by maybe the same people. But they look different. You know what I mean? But they are the same sort of thing. Yeah, I like these as well. These are very nice. These sort of do bring back memories a bit. I think they're not quite as nostalgic as the others, for me. They're more just ones I had at home and things, But they were nice. Yeah, they were nice. A bit, probably one that wasn't too calorific or whatever. I think for me these ones are probably, I don't think they're an A. I think these are B ones, these ones. But I did like them, as I say. They were good. They were just probably a bit sort of mundane, really, but nice. But basically, yeah, just like a bit like a Calippo, as I say, fruit flavoured. Sort of juice frozen, basically, so it's pretty much ice is the gist of it. Yeah. So the Zoom one, I don't think the actual Zoom I had looked like this. They still do these, I think. I think mine might have looked a bit more mundane. I'm not sure if it had the purple on the top. I think it might have just been a bit more normal colours, but I wasn't sure really. And every sort of picture I found was different. Some of them were new ones, some of the old ones, and the old ones had different looks. And I think in the old days where you did have multiple companies or knockoffs, basically. I think you did anyway. So it wasn't uncommon to see the same one either called something different or called the same but different colours, or maybe it was on the poster it's different, I'm not sure. Basically a bit like a Fab. It's probably not as exciting really. You just had, as I say, I think all of it is red, and then you have an added layer of the orange in the middle. Obviously it's stepped. So it's the same with the Fab, it's stepped. It's like the red will be stepped in, and this layer will be on to fill in the gaps. It'll still be like the same width all the way along, but that's kind of how it works. So if you imagine it's done like that, the different layers are added on afterwards to make it to fill it up. So basically it's not as much purple then purple will give way to the yellow, and then the yellow will give way to the red. So at the top, and there'll be all 3 layers. It's not too bad, but as you say, it's not as good as a fab. Basically, it's more just normal sort of ice lolly type affair. Really, there's no like milk flavouring like there is in a fab, and there's no hundreds of thousands and things. Yeah, I think for me it's not that great. They're okay. I was going to give it a C really, but I think it's probably more. It's probably more. I think it probably is a D, a Zoom. I'm not that bothered. What was exciting about a Zoom was the fact that it looked like a rocket. And obviously, when you're a kid, rockets are exciting, and it had the look to it, and it looked fun. But it didn't really taste that great. It was nothing too special about it, really. It was all right. But just a bit, I don't know. It just wasn't that nice. It wasn't that exciting to eat. It was more exciting to look at, maybe even play with. You could pretend it was a rocket. You know what it's like when you're a kid. But it just, I don't know. It wasn't much to it basically. And I think I've had them since, and I was a bit disappointed as well. So just making there's nothing to this really. Yeah, it's just some ice lollies are quite nice with all the multiple flavors and things, but they're generally a bit underwhelming for me. They can be quite refreshing and they can be quite interesting, but generally, I think they're never a first, second, or third choice. I think it's just when there's something, have you given one, or you just, I don't know, you just see them, you just fancy one for whatever reason, or is the only thing available, that kind of thing. So there we go. Now we had funny faces. Now this one's a bit of an odd one for me. I think I had these. I don't really remember these. I think I had one. I think basically like Happy Feet essentially, but instead of shaped like a feet, shaped like a face, and they got chocolate in. So to be honest with you, they probably are better really. I just only just remember these. I almost didn't put them on the list because they're even actually hard to find pictures of because they're quite rare really. There's only about this picture on the whole internet that I could find. I'm sure there's more, but the others were quite easy to find, but this one was difficult. I'm not too sure I remember this one. As I say, it's basically got the added value of having chocolate as well as the strawberry ice cream. So you can only really say it's probably the same, if not better, than the Happy Feet one. It's a bit of a rubbish face, isn't it? This was the 80s, you know what I mean? Maybe in the 70s with this one. It was okay, but I don't really remember it too well. I find it, I don't know. I'm not too sure. I probably shouldn't really have included this one, but I thought, you know what? I remember it. I just don't remember it well enough, really. But I wanted to include it because it was one I remembered. It was a nostalgic one. Well, it will be for people, not really for me, because I just don't remember it well enough. I do remember, enjoying it, and I'm quite sure, as I say, quite similar to the Happy Feet. I think chocolate ice cream. It's nice to have the variety, I think, but I think these days, I think chocolate ice cream's not the best, really. I think some ice creams are nice, of course, Haagen-Dazs chocolate ice cream and stuff. But I think generally, I don't know, chocolate ice cream, it can be a bit, you need to have other things with it generally, I think. And I think, as well, in this case, you have the strawberry. So I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt, based purely on the fact that it is what it is, and I remember the Happy Feet being really nice. I can't see this being much different, so I'll give it an A. But I think it is probably, as I say, I'm going off more of a sort of an assumption. I think I was too young when I had it to really remember, and I think I only had it once, and I think it either disappeared or I just never had it again for whatever reason. I don't distinctly remember it, so yeah. So I'm kind of going off the fact that I know the Happy Feet was really nice, and I know this one's very similar, but yeah. So there we go. So there we are. Yeah. So I'll give it an A, but as I say, I can't quite remember it very well. It's one that's just very distant, but there we are. So yes, there we go, guys. Yes, let me know what you think. I think an interesting one there. It's a bit of an interesting set there, actually. I said there could have been more. There could have been more really that I could have included. But Knobbly Bobbly was one, but I never really had that when I was younger. I only really saw that recently. I think it might have been called something else when I was younger. So I've not included that one. A bit like a sort of fab, except it was totally covered in hundreds of thousands or whatever, but very similar other than that, really. Similar-ish anyway. I think it was like, I think the layers, we had sort of multiple layers in. I think we had 2 layers, I think. and the whole outside layer was one layer, and then it had the inside, rather than it being actually an invisible free layer. I think it was just covered in one sort of outer colour or outer covering, and the middle had another one, so it was totally covered. Had like a sensor, maybe even multiple layers, but it was basically very similar, really. I'd probably rate it about the same, I think. But as I say, I don't think it was around when I was younger. At least if it was, there were some things I did see that looked quite similar to it, but yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. Not too sure about that one, so I didn't include it. I'm quite sure I didn't have it when I was younger as well anyway, but yeah, so there we go. So maybe you did, let me know. Yeah, but let me know what you think about this list, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, as I say, this might, some people might not remember all of these, but it's a bit of an interesting one to look back on, really, and see what I like. And as I say, we'll probably do a more modern one as well soon as well. I just thought I didn't want to have the old ones in with the new ones, if that makes sense. I thought just because it just gets a bit much then, a bit confusing and stuff like that, and I don't know. So I thought it'd be nice to have different categories for ice creams, because I said there's lots of different ones, and it's probably very difficult to actually include most of them together, really, because there's so many of them. So I probably will have to partition them, or put them into categories. So this is the first. So what do you think? Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed following along in the chat as well. I'll say, if you're watching the premiere, great to have seen you, I'm sure. I'm sure I've been chatting with you all this time. Hope you enjoyed it, as I say. If you didn't watch it live, leave a comment or free, let me know what you think. But leave a comment or free anyway if you want. It's always great to hear from you. As I say, I'm sure it was great chatting to you. I hope you have a lovely day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye for now. See ya. Bye.